estimated to have appeared around 1,000 million years ago, and since then they have evolved into different species, with about 20,000 species, and behavioral forms that make them vital for the environment. Bees are among the planet's greatest pollinators, essential for biodiversity. They produce honey, royal jelly, beeswax, pollen, and venom, which are used in medicine.
Furthermore, bees have a highly organized behavior. Within a colony, the queen is the only fertile female. The worker bees, which are sterile females, are responsible for collecting pollen, nectar, and many other tasks. The drones, the male bees, are tasked with mating with the queen, but they don't perform other duties.
Fun fact! Bees do not sting unless they feel threatened.
Honeybees are also able to communicate with each other through the famous wiggle dance. This dance allows them to indicate the location of nectar-rich flowers. It comes in two types. The first involves circular movement if the food searches within 50 meters. The second involves a figure-eight movement in the food is farther than 50 meters.
Unfortunately, bees are endangered due to excessive pesticide use, air pollution, habitat loss, and climate change, which are the threatening bees and other pollinators. For example, air pollution interferes with the sun signal that guide bees in their search for food, reducing their efficiency in pollination. They are also vulnerable to disease and parasites such as Varroa destructor, a mite that attacks adult bees and larvae.
In 2008, the European Union partly banned create pesticides harmful to bees, leading to the establishment of World Bee Day on 20 May.
Protecting bees is therefore a priority to preserve the health of natural environments and our food security.
Save the bees!
Hi, I'm Alisa Crescenzi. I'm a student of Hospitality School.
Hi, I'm Filippo Specca, also a student of Hospitality School.
Why are bees important for our well-being and the planet?
Because they have a role in our planet and for humans. Bees are pollinators, meaning they transfer pollen from one flower to another one, allowing many plants to reproduce. They also help the balance of the ecosystem, but unfortunately, they are extinguished because of pesticides.
What's a bee like?
Like other insects, it is divided into three parts. So head, thorax, and abdominal. The two antennas allow you to perceive flowers, smells, and temperature. Then 5 eyes, 2 bigger and 3 smaller, and they only use the stringer to defend the hive.
Hi, I'm Alessandro and I study hospitality with Felix and Lisa. Beekeeping has become a commercial industry with bees often transported over long distances for pollination. However, beekeepers should focus on searching local bees to reduce the carbon footprint and ensure they are better adapted to the local environment.
Bee transportation practice adults high cost, mortality risk, and disease risk, making them unsustainable.
The best solution is a local beekeeping which reduces carbon emission, promotes bee health and supports local economies.
But what are bees? Bees are a pollinating insect responsible for 70% of all pollination in the world. They are very useful for the climate. They also produce around 35% of all food, and they contribute to around 30% of all food production in the last 50 years.
And what are they like? The body of bees is divided into three parts. The first part is the head, that has two antennae with which they perceive the shapes and characteristics of objects. The second part is the thorax. It is covered with hair that retains pollen. And the last one part is the abdomen. It contains organs and glands and ends with the feared stinger. The society of bees is one of the most complex and organized in the animal world. In a hive there are the queen bee, the drone, and the workers.
But specifically, who do what? The queen bee has the task of laying eggs, like 2 or 300 per day, and according to the hive. The drone, born with a parthenogenesis, has the sole task of fertilizing the queen's egg. After doing this, it dies. The worker bee is a sterilized female that defends the colony and provides the hive with other sources it needs, like honey, nectar, and beeswax.
Where do bees live? Bees are raised in specific structures called hives, where the family carries out all the operations necessary for its survival. Bees in nature don't need a hive, but they would create a new hive independently of man. Let us specify that the hive is the artificial structure built by the beekeeper. The other one is the set of hives and colonies of bees.
Honey can be monofloral, which is highly honey, or multifloral, which is poly honey. Honey may differ between region and region, for example in Italy. That's because each region has different plants and flowers, which give different properties and qualities.
Examples of them are forest honey, multiflower honey, ivy honey, strawberry tree honey, etc.
The word fermentation comes from the Latin word fervere, which means to boil down something. This term refers typically to wine making, since it produces enzymes and CO2, but also alcohol. Honey contains numerous enzymes that have conservative properties. These conservative properties are also used for foods such as fermented food. These enzymes have lots of different origins, such as plant or animal.
If the workers were alone, they wouldn't be able to organize the hive. If the drones were alone, they wouldn't have a way to reproduce. However, you are an indispensable value. Don't be fooled into thinking that you are worth nothing. Life is beautiful, and every moment is worth living. And now go, spread your wings and fly high.
Ancient and modern literature are full of examples and references to bees. We are starting with Valerio Massimo, who was an historian of the Augustan age in the Roman Empire. He looks at bees as examples of makers of important products that, among their benefits, have the ability to stimulate the capacity of talking in public, philosophical skills, and stuff like that. For example, in his Factorum et Dictorum Memorabilium Libri Novem, he talks about bees representing the comparison between King Midas, who was brought up by ants that used to feed him by putting in his mouth some wheat and provoking his wealth and opulent life. And in opposition to him, we have Platon, who was fed by bees with honey, and it stimulated his wisdom and interest in philosophy. So in this myth, honey embodies the discriminant between an opulent but intellectually poor life and a richer one composed of eloquence and wisdom. Then we have Virgil, who wrote the Georgics, and they basically become famous in the same period as Valerio Massimo's works, and include in the last book of Georgics a vast discussion about beekeeping. And observing the bee society, he figures out that they represent kind of an ideal society, which is composed of individualities that are always thought about in function of their communities. They all respect the role they have in this very strictly ordained hierarchy. At the very end of this work takes place the myth of Aristeus, that is a beekeeper. He loses all his bees and he doesn't know the reason, and he tries to discover it also through the myth of Eurydice and Orpheus. This is a comparison again between Orpheus, that represents a citizen who is not really a positive example for the Roman society, because he constantly tries to subvert all the laws that rule his world. And on the other hand, Orpheus is very distant from Aristeus, that represent the ideal and positive example of the Roman citizen, because he tries to solve his problems through searching for solutions. He looks at bees as examples of an economic gain and diligence, which is very important for his life and survival in economical terms. The last examples that we like to present is Aristotle, who was the author of many studies about bees and about their nature and behavior in the social environment where they were inserted. Such an aspect, the social habit, really links them to the human world, makes them closer to the human being, and it allows a parallelism that will characterize all the following centuries, we could say. So, as the humans, the bees are social animals, so they can survive only if they are together, inserted in a specific environment that is a plural environment, so a community, and couldn't live without it. So their strength is represented by the plurality of their social organization.
These, however, have also been used critically as a metaphor for a corrupt or artificial society. The very first example of this can be found in Bernard de Mansville's most famous work, The Fable of the Bees, or Private Vices, Public Benefits, published in 1714. It is composed of three main parts: an opening satirical poem titled The Grumbling Hive, a prose discussion of said poem, and finally an essay. In The Grumbling Hive, Manville describes a bee community which thrives because the bees are led by personal vices, ambition, luxury, envy, and greed. That is until the bees decide to live by honesty and virtue. As they abandon their desire for personal gain and become virtuous, living therefore honestly and simply, the hive falls apart, the trade vanishes, the economy crumbles, and the industry collapses. Mandeville's implication is quite clear. It was precisely those vices, the ones that the bees have now abandoned, that would maintain economy and collective wealth alive and well. Mandeville's social theory and thesis of the book is that personal vices like greed or selfishness create social benefits such as economic growth, progress, innovation, and prosperity. Mandeville criticizes the moral hypocrisy of modern society, which condemns certain behavior whilst simultaneously actively gaining from them. The book caused a long-standing controversy. Unanimously accused of immorality, it anticipated some fundamental elements at the basis of liberalism economic, and inspired thinkers like Adam Smith, despite being criticized by him as well. Unlike previous authors, Mandeville uses bees to provoke. Vice, not virtue, generates collective well-being, a critique of traditional morality and the idealized vision of society. In the Simonide Blinks of Women, there are some comparisons between women and some animals that shows their negative aspects. The only kind of woman that is positive is the bee woman, because she is loyal to her husband. She generates strong and beautiful children, and she doesn't like to talk about sex. Beyond the fact that Simonide used bees just to underline his vision of women, so women just has objects that plays a role in families and related to their husband. We also know some strong female personalities who use bees as a way to emerge and to express their own feelings. According to Sylvia Plath, bee queen, as a unique bee who can procreate and continue their species, has a prodigious nature. Bees are the symbol of the eternal alternating between life and death. In the bee meeting, Sylvia immediately compares two types of behavior. On one side we have the villagers, and on the other side we have the bee community. The villagers are described as all gloved and covered, and are materialistically interested in multiplying honey production, and in fact they take away the virgins, so they want to avoid a face-deadly duel with the queen. And in this utilitarian gesture, Sylvia discovers that men interfere with the natural cycle of life, and so she felt very exhausted as the old queen. The hive is used to represent the poet's mind and her creativeness, and the villagers represent outside influences such as culture, popular knowledge, and the functional life. Now we're going to talk about Emily Dickinson. According to Martha McDowell, there is a connection between the poet's behavior and the bees' behavior. In fact, when the temperature rises, bees begin to fly in search of nectar and pollen, and so does Dickinson, who instead responds to the call of her creativity. Her springtime is poetry. So if the relationship between plants and pollinators is vital for our ecosystem, poetic inspiration is vital for the poetess. In a beautiful poem, Dickinson just exposed the murmur of a bee with the magical mystery of poetic inspiration. In fact, she said, "The murmur of a bee, a magic produced in me." Emily's close bond with bees is showed in the fact that she decided to tell only them about the foreboding of her death.
Bees are very important for our planet. They're not just about honey, they are essential for the environment, for the biodiversity, and even for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
There are over 20,000 known bee species worldwide, and possibly 1,000 more yet to be discovered. Bees play a key role in pollination, helping over 75% of the world's food crop reproduce. Without bees, many fruits, vegetables, and nuts will disappear from our plates.
Bees are excellent pollinators because their airy bodies carry a lot of pollen and many species live in highly organized colonies. From the honeybee in Europe to stingless bees in the Amazon, their relationship with humans is ancient and deeply cultural.
Bees contribute to at least 15 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Some examples are SDG number 3, good health and well-being. Bee products like honey, propolis, and royal jelly are used in traditional and modern medicine. Or the SDG number 15, life on land. Bees support biodiversity by pollinating wild plants and forests. Protecting them means protecting ecosystems.
Bees are in serious decline across the world. The main threats are habitat loss, pesticide use, parasite, and climate change. We need to act now to protect bees and the ecosystem they support.
Educating children about nature and pollinators like bees is essential for building a more conscious and responsible future. Schools should actively include environmental topics in their lessons, helping students understand how bees contribute to food production, biodiversity, and healthy ecosystems. Media plays a powerful role in shaping young minds. Cartoons like Maya the Bee and films like Bee Movie are excellent tools to introduce kids to the importance of bees in a fun and engaging way. These characters make it easier for children to connect emotionally with nature and learn values like cooperation and respect for the environment.
Protecting bees is not just a job for scientists, it starts with all of us. Planting flowers, avoiding harmful chemicals, supporting sustainable farming, small action can make a big difference. Bees connect ecosystem, economies and culture. If we protect them, we protect ourselves.
The beehive is defined by Morton as a colony that is a superorganism, where in it every bee can be assimilated. In the heart of the hive, Nietzsche's will to power manifests not in the individual, but in the swarm, a superorganism, workers, drones and queen, bound by a cruel calculus, survival through sacrifice. Workers engineer hives, bleed to defend them and vanish without legacy. Drones are born to mate and perish. The queen is a slave to her own pheromones. She reigns as long as she serves the colony as a vessel for the swarm's generational survival. Yet, beneath this harmony lies revolt, workers hoarding reproduction from the queen, anarchist bees defying the social structures. Royal gently crowns queen, policing crushes dissident. There is no utopia, it is a war masked as harmony. Life here thrives not on morality, but on a paradox. The collective devours the individual, yet the individual claws back. The hive whispers, is the Ubermensch the swarm, or the traitor it crushes?
Wheeler argues that honeybee colonies are irreversibly integrated systems, where individual workers and queens lose reproductive autonomy, evolving mutual dependence. Some of the key features are the caste differentiation, where workers are the most important part of the hive and perform non-reproductive tasks such as temperature regulation, nutrition of all the hive, cleaning and disposal of bodies, construction with wards of the hive, security and defense of the hive, picking up properly and pollen in nature, and exploring the environment for searching resources. The queen and the drone have only a reproductive role in the colony. The only difference between the queen and the others is that she is only fed with royal jelly. If the queen produces other drones, she is labeled in Italian as a fucaiola, and she is not useful to the colony. Therefore, she is exiled or killed. The male dies, losing his genitals, and the queen is the only one permitted to deploy eggs. Other than reproduction, the utility of drones for the colonies ends there. In fact, they are only accepted in the colony when useful, on periods of spring and autumn, and otherwise killed. This shows us a society that from our point of view is cruel and unfair, but for them, the well-being of the collective is more important than the life of the individual when it does not contribute to the colony.
Hi everyone! Have you ever wondered what the world would be like without bees? No more honey, fewer flowers, and even some of your favorite food could disappear. These might seem small, but play a huge role in keeping nature balanced. Today, we are going to explore why bees are so important and how they help biodiversity.
Bees are nature's top pollinators.
As they fly from flower to flower, collecting nectar, they also spread pollen, helping plants grow and reproduce. This process, called pollination, is essential for many fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Without bees, we'd lose about a third of the food we eat. Imagine a world without apples, almonds, or even chocolate.
But bees don't just have humans, they have the entire ecosystem.
Many plants rely on bees to survive, and in turn, those plants provide food and shelter for countless animals. From tiny insects to large mammals, many species depend on the plants that bees help pollinate. Without bees, these ecosystems could collapse, causing a chain reaction in nature.
Unfortunately, bees are in danger. Climate change, pesticides, habitat loss, and diseases are all putting bee populations at risk. In some areas, bee numbers have dropped dramatically, which is bad news not just for them, but for the entire planet. If we don't protect them, biodiversity will suffer, and so we will.
The good news is we can all do something to help bees.
Planting bee-friendly flowers, avoiding harmful pesticides, and supporting local beekeepers by buying honey are great ways to make a difference. Even setting up a small water dish for thirsty bees on hot days can help.
Fun bees facts. And there's something fun. Did you know bees can recognize human faces, or that they communicate by dancing? That's right. Bees do a special waggle dance to tell their hive where to find the best flowers. So next time you see a bee, just imagine it's a tiny dancing scientist.
We call the waggle dance. In this dance, the honeybee runs straight ahead for a short distance and returns to the starting point, forming a semicircle. Then she runs through the straight course again. This time, she makes a semicircle in the opposite direction. While running the straight line course of the dance, the bee's body waggles back and forth energetically from side to side. The honeybee also beats its wings to produce a buzzing sound.
And in the end, I'd like to give you an advice.
Bees may be small, but their impact is huge. They keep nature balanced, help grow our food, and make the world a more beautiful place. So, let's do our part to protect them. And remember, next time you hear a bee buzzing nearby, don't wave it away. Instead, give it a little bit of appreciation. After all, they're working hard to keep our planet alive.
In honeybees colonies, the queen bee is the sole fertile female and the primary reproductive individual. She is central to the colony's function, laying thousands of eggs daily. Worker bees, which are sterile females, perform various roles such as foraging, nursing, and defending the hive. Drones, the males, have the singular purpose of mating with a queen. This structure is often described as matriarchal, as the queen holds the highest reproductive status and the colony's survival hinges on her. However, it's important to know that bee societies are not matriarchies in the human sociological sense, as they lack complex social hierarchies and cultural constructs.
In a honeybee colony, the queen bee stands as the central figure, embodying the epitome of matriarchy in the insect world. Her primary role is reproduction. She is the sole fertile female, and she is responsible for laying eggs that will develop into the next generation of bees. Her presence and phenomena regulate the colony's activities.
Worker bees, or sterile females, perform a myriad of tasks essential for the colony's survival. Their duties include foraging for nectar and pollen, nursing the brood, defending the hive, and maintaining the hive's cleanliness and temperature.
Drones are the male bees whose primary function is to mate with a virgin queen during her mating flights. After mating, drones die, and those that do not mate are expelled from the hive before winter, as they are no longer needed.
The queen's central role and the division of labor among female worker bees create a matriarchal structure within the colony. However, it's important to note that this matriarchy is biological rather than sociocultural.
On the contrary, human matriarchy is a social and cultural system, not a biological one. Women may hold political, spiritual, or economic authority in the community.
We have different examples in the world, like Mosi people in China, Akan people in Ghana, Khasi people in India, and Bribri people in Costa Rica and Panama.
Today we're going to talk about bees. Bees are essential creature for both our ecosystems and agriculture. They play a crucial role in pollination, which help plants reproduce. Bees pollinate approximately 1/3 of the food we eat, including many fruits, vegetables and nuts. Without bees, our food supply would face significant challenges.
In a bee colony, there are three main types of bees: the worker bees, the queen bees, and the drones. Each type of bees has a specific role within the hive, ensuring colony survival and growth.
The queen bee is the most important member of the colony. She is the only fertile female and has the primary responsibility of laying eggs. These eggs will hatch into new bees, ensuring the colony's future. The queen is also responsible for producing pheromones that help maintain the colony's structure and organization.
Worker bees are the females in the hive and are responsible for almost all tasks, such as foraging for nectar and pollen, which they bring back to the hive to feed the colony. They also care for the queen eggs and larvae, maintain the hive and protect it from threats. Without worker bees, the hive could not function.
Honey is one of the most well-known products made by bees. Worker bees collect nectar from flowers, which they bring back to the hive. Inside the hive, the nectar is processed by bees and turned into honey. Honey is stored in hexagonal wax shells and is used as a food source for the colony, especially during the winter, when the nectar is scarce. Bees also produce beeswax, which is used to build the structure of their hives. The wax is secreted by worker bees from special glands on their abdomen. They use the wax to create the honeycomb, which stores honey and pollen and also serves as a nursery for the queen's eggs and larvae.
In addition to honey and beeswax, bees also produce other useful products, such as propolis, which is a resin-like substance collected from trees and used by bees to seal cracks in the hive. It also has antimicrobial properties and it is also used in health products. Royal jelly is another substance which is created by worker bees to feed the queen of the hive. It has been used in cosmetics and also traditional medicine.
Unfortunately, bee populations are declining due to factors like habitat loss, pesticide use, and climate change. This decline poses a serious threat to ecosystem and agriculture. To protect bees, we can plant bee-friendly flowers, reduce pesticide use, and support conservation efforts. By doing so, we can help ensure that bees continue to thrive, benefiting both the environment and our system food.